Hi, this is Brandy Sargent, editor of Cell Culture Dish, and with me today I have Lior Raviv. He is the Vice President of Development at Pluristem. Hi, thank you for joining us. I wanted to ask you about the importance of process development and automation in the cell therapy field.
Okay, so generally cell therapy is a new field, and for every new field there needs to be new technologies, new approaches to manufacture the product. Cell therapy, if you think about it, today is purely manual, kind of more than an art than a process. And people can do it, other people do it, and it won't be the same. So if you want your product to be robust, to be reproducible, you need to invest in development right from the beginning to be sure that you eliminate the human factor out of your manufacturing procedures. So automation will be the next step in development of these processes, because once you know what are the correct procedures, you now can automate it and produce the entire process without a human touch.
Right.
This will give rise to more quality products coming into the market with less investment in manufacturing, in cost of goods during production.
And that brings up a good question. So when is the best time to really invest in process development?
Okay, so actually we learned that the best time to do it is right from the beginning, or whenever you understood that you need to do it. Technology will have imprints, fingerprints on your product. So if you think about industrialization, you will see that you need pumps, you need valves, you need these stuffs in your process, and these will affect your product. So even if you start very early and work with small scales, you can actually add a pump into your process, even if it's not needed. But then you will get the fingerprint of the technology on your product. So then you can learn how it's affecting your product, how it changes his characterization, and you can adjust. So if you start very early and outside your process, learning how these conditions will affect your product, it will be the best way. But the minute you understood you want to go to development and automation, you just need to do it.
Right. And in terms of 3D production, I wanted to find out how it's different, and then also what ability it has to kind of influence the industry.
Okay, so actually Pluristem is a cell therapy company, but it's originated as a technology company, it's a bioreactors that can support MSCs, stem cells growth. The difference in this bioreactor was that the architecture the cells are growing in is a 3D. So if you think about cell therapy dish, it's a 2D. Even if you go to microcarrier's bioreactor, it's still, if you figure out the dimension of the cells to the dimension of the carrier, it's still 2D.
Right.
But when you use 3D scaffolds, you actually create like an organ-like environment. So cells are growing on the scaffold. They have the ability to secrete ECM components, like extra cellular matrix components, in between the fibers of the scaffolds, and creating a small organ under a controlled environment inside your bioreactor. So this growth environment is better for the cells. And we actually, when we started doing the experiments around 2006, when deciding which platform we will use, we tested the same batch growing on cell factories, so 2D compared to the 3D. And we saw tremendous changes in the cell secretion, the cell's quality. This is why we chose back then to go to 3D. And I see now new technology emerging, like gel scaffolds and other types of very smart scaffolds that are 3D. This will give rise to new level of products that are more prepared to be injected back to the body and more capable of growing, because it's the same conditions as the cells originated from.
Right. And to switch gears a little bit, I wanted to talk to you about, could you explain the importance of receiving all the regulatory approvals prior to clinical trials?
Okay, so the same question goes back to why you start development from the beginning. Every regulator has its own way of doing things, or own controls you want to have on your product. FDA has its needs, PMDA from Japan has its whole set of different things that they want you to control and to understand on your process, and sometimes they are not aligned. So if you start by saying, I will go with the FDA, but I want the same product to be applicable for EU or Japan, you might find out that their constraints might change your process, because you need to change raw materials, you need to change processes in the manufacturing. So if you incorporate the knowledge and the demands coming from different regulators to your process, as you do in process development, you can actually might reach a point that your process is harmonized between all regulators. So this gives you an ability to go into clinical trials once you know all demands on your quality, so you actually are CMC ready for marketing once you are in clinical phases.
Right, oh, that makes sense. All right, well, thank you so much for your time today and taking time out of your schedule at Boston Biotech Week and being on BWB TV. I really appreciate it. It was really interesting.
Thank you very much.